Hey guys, it's Jessica. Today we're going back to my roots because my roots are the drugstore. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I used to do e.l.f. videos all of the time. So much so that as my channel was starting to grow, they noticed me and like even invited me to like a PR brand trip. The first one I've like ever gone to. I've only gone on 2. And it wasn't really a trip, doesn't matter. Anyway, I'll put that vlog. It was only a couple years ago, but it was so much fun. I learned a lot. I met some YouTubers I thought were incredibly rude, and I met some that were incredibly nice. So it was a very eye-opening little trip to New York for me. So for little Jessie from only a few years ago. Anyway, I'll link that below. I don't think a lot of people watched it, which was funny because I was so excited about it and then no one watched it. e.l.f. is something that I've always appreciated, the brand, because they keep their prices decently affordable, but I've been saying lately, e.l.f. is getting a little pricey for their britches because some of this stuff is pushing it price-wise. So I will put the price on the screen with each product that I mention and try out today. So we're just gonna try a bunch of new stuff from e.l.f. before you even ask. No, I don't have the freaking poreless putty primer. It's sold out on e.l.f.'s website. It's sold out on Ulta's website. I keep trying to buy it. I'm really sad because I do like the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer and so many of you guys have asked. I would say about 60% of it I purchased with my own money myself. 40%-ish of it was sent to me in random little mailings from them through PR. So you guys know I'm gonna give you the good, the bad, and the ugly regardless of if it's sent to me, but I figured I would let that be known. So I've got a few different primer type things. I've got some booster drops to try. How do I want to start? So this is the e.l.f. Beauty Shield Antioxidant Enriched Skin Protection. It's their Daily Defense Makeup Mist. And I tried a couple things from this line back when it first launched, and I really liked pretty much everything I tried. But this was one I just hadn't gotten the chance to try. So it says it's a fine facial mist with key antioxidants, licorice extract, vitamin E, for a nourishing layer of defense that helps protect your skin against everyday environmental aggressors. But you can also use it throughout the day to refresh makeup. So it says use under or over makeup as much as needed. The top of this was really greasy on the outside. I'm trying to figure that one out. Like, how did that even, but I really like the packaging of this. And I mentioned in a recent video, e.l.f.'s packaging, I love that they've kept the simplicity of it because that was something that kind of drew me to it in the first place. And this is like really pretty, right? Let's just give this a try. Let's see how the mister is first. Oh, whoa. It tastes sweet. It literally got in my mouth and it tasted like citrusy sweet. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe that's the licorice extract. I don't know. It smells really, really nice. Like too nice, but it smells really nice. You know what I mean? Like what you got in there that makes you smell so good? Is it actually good for my skin? I don't know. But I will say that is one of the most pleasant fragrances I have ever smelled. So feels nice. The sprayers, I think it's still a fine-ish mist. It's just kind of jarring. Does that make sense? I almost always start with a facial spray, so this could be something that I end up using a lot. The primers I have again from the Beauty Shield line. They're SPF 50 Skin Shielding Primer, and it says it's a universal tint. I was like, what? That sounds good. Gosh, it expires December of 2019. That's coming up in a year. Okay, 10 months. But I also have the e.l.f. poreless face primer, which I figure I'll use kind of on my nose, like T-zone region where I usually use pore filling primers. I don't know if this is similar to that like poreless putty primer, blah, 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 PPP. I figured let's start with this SPF of 50. Let's see what color it is. Oh, it really is like a kind of beige, but it says it's universal. So we're gonna see. I think I'm gonna need more for like the true SPF protection. I think it's kind of like mattifying, doesn't it? I mean, it kind of looks mattifying to me. And I can't tell if what I'm smelling right now is this or if it is this SPF stuff. What? That's the same thing. I can't tell if the smell I'm smelling is this SPF primer or if it's the spray still, because I think it's just the spray. I don't think it's this. Y'all, that like looks good on the skin. Like I don't even feel like I need foundation. If you have a much deeper skin tone than me, I'd be very curious if you've tried this. How did it look? Because I could see, because it definitely covered some, that I would almost have to assume it might look kind of ashy being put, do you know what I mean? Because I don't see how that could be totally universal because it wasn't completely translucent. Like it actually did cover. What do you guys think? I will say though, regardless, assuming it really does go completely translucent, let me just try it on my hand. Yeah, it definitely leaves a slight tint. But it is pretty slight. So maybe it would look fine on deeper skin tones. But regardless of that, it didn't completely mattify my skin, but it definitely made it like really smooth. And it's an SPF of 50. I do think you have to have a nice layer of this on for it to actually have that protection. But like it feels like an actual prime, like this. Ooh, sun, no, come back out. I'm actually really excited about it. I thought I wouldn't really care, but like, I wish you guys could feel my face right now. I feel like it looks so healthy and I haven't even put like a coverage product on. Dang, girl, dang. So let's try, I don't even feel like I really need it, but just for science's sake, let's try the e.l.f. poreless face primer. I've heard drama about these, oh, it's more like, it looks more hydrating than I would have guessed. Oh, but it definitely has that kind of, is it silicone? That kind of feeling of, you know, what those pore filling primers feel like, where it really just completely fills and smooths the area. I usually put the leftover on my chin. Yeah, it definitely feels pore filling. But what I was saying is I feel like I've heard drama about these, that they're not actually as full as you think they are. But I will say this feels heavier than I remember their primers feeling, so I wonder if they fix that. I don't know, but regardless, I've also seen some things about e.l.f. repackaging their primers in squeezy tubes, and I'm like, yes, please, yes, yes. I don't know why, but I would much prefer primers, specifically primers in squeezy tubes. I don't know why I prefer that. I can't explain it. I don't know what the thought, but I just prefer it. So there you go. I don't know if it's true for all of theirs, but I think I saw something online where it was like one of theirs, they're like, oh, we're repackaging. And I was like, yes! So I want to try, this is actually something I have tried a million times before and I really, really like, but I haven't had it in my collection for a while because I needed a better shade match. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation. I have one of their new shades, which is Snow. I picked it up the other day at the store. And to be honest, I brought it home and I was like, I don't know. But then when I was kind of blending it out on my cheek and just playing with it the other day, I was like, actually, I think that's a match. It just looks weird in the bottle. So I was trying to make sure I really shook it up really well because I don't know like if it was on the shelf for a long time, you know, things like that. But the shade Snow is described as fair with pink undertones, which I believe fits my descriptions. I'm just gonna use my L'Oreal sponge, just get a little bit. This has really nice coverage. Yeah, this is a pretty good shade match for me. It might be slightly light, but I think once it's all blended in, it's gonna look really nice. This is one of my favorite drugstore foundations. I just feel like this has a nice medium, but it's buildable. I think you can get a fuller coverage look with this, but it doesn't emphasize a ton of texture. I feel like it's not a glowy foundation, but it's also not mattifying. It's just got this really nice satin look. And keep in mind, I didn't put on like an illuminating primer underneath, but you can still see my natural skin through this and like the oils in it. I just think this is one of those foundations that it's so perfect. And I pray that they don't mess with the formula. You know, as brands grow and grow and grow, a lot of times they start to change the formulas, cut corner, you know. I hope that that never happens with this because I really do think that it's such a beautiful formula. It's one of those things that, you know, assuming this is still $6, that's what it was when I first used it. I think that is an amazing deal for a foundation that just looks pretty. If you can find your shade, I'll put on the screen their shades that they have right now though, because I know like originally it was really not a lot, but they've improved it, which is good. That's a step in the right direction, right? I'm a little torn here because I want to try their new concealer. It's their 16-hour camo concealer. I have the shade Light Peach, and I also have their sheer blurring under eye primer. And it says that it's supposed to help smooth fine lines and puffiness to prep for makeup application. It's got hyaluronic acid to help hydrate the delicate under eye area and priming micro wax to help keep it in place. So the reason I'm torn is I'm like, I want to see how this concealer performs, and I don't want it to like be better than it really is because I use this, or like vice versa, worse because I use this. But at the same time, like that sounds like exactly what I need. I definitely have fine lines under the eye, but of course I'll continue to keep trying the concealer even without it so I can let you know in future videos
or even maybe editing Jesse can let you know here on the screen right now, as I've tried it without this, how it performs. So this under eye primer is a little bit more moist than I would have guessed, more emollient, but I'm just gonna kind of press it into this under eye area. I tried not to get a ton of foundation in that area just so it didn't kind of mess with it. I'm so curious, because if this works, holy cannoli, that would be great. I kind of extended it outward where I'm getting kind of miniature little crow's feet because I want to see if concealer can stay out there as well. I smile a lot and I'm decently expressive with my face. So, you know, I'm gonna get wrinkles there and that's okay, but it's nice when it's not as obvious. So let's try this camo concealer. Like I said, I have the shade Light Peach. It has a giant doe foot applicator, a la you know which concealer, which is fine. I don't know, I got a little swatch here. I don't know how high is the coverage, you know? Seems like pretty high coverage. I mean, that's kind of blanking out that whole area of my, so I'm not gonna use a ton. And let's just do one there. And then I might, like I always do, just those two. And let's just try it with my finger. Ooh, really, a little goes a long way. Gosh, this is a ton. I'm like wiping it off in between. So since we have too much, I'm gonna go in with a little sponge here to kind of soak up some of that. But I'm trying to be really mindful of just pressing it in and not swiping, because I don't want to mess with the primer underneath it, and I also don't want to just move it around in that way. I'm decently fair, and this is super light, so if you struggle to find a concealer light enough, e.l.f. has got your back, and I think there's stuff lighter than this, so you might be in luck if you've been looking for a really, really light concealer. Definitely check this line out. I'll go ahead and finish it though. I'm just gonna do even less. So let me zoom you in and let's look at what's going on with this concealer just kind of right off the bat. So I think it's I think the primer is making it look a little bit wet under there, which, to be quite candid, I don't hate that look. I have a few concealers that I love that kind of give more of a wet-ish look under the eye. You can see where it's sunk into the fine lines. I don't think that under eye primer is gonna completely prevent that. So I don't know if that's a step that's necessarily worth taking, but I think that the concealer itself, like I said, it's got really high coverage. I think it blended in nicely. I don't think it looks bad. I just think that the under eye primer is messing with it a little bit, and that might not be something it's an extra step that I might not need to take in the future. All right, so I did buy their Ultra Precise Brow Pencil in Neutral Brown. I don't know if this is the shade match. We're gonna find out. I think I've tried this before though, and I think I actually liked it. I feel like I've tried a few e.l.f. brow pencils, and I think I've liked all of them. They're probably the same pencil, just in different packaging. I don't know. I think it's slightly warm toned. I don't think it's that bad, and especially once I get makeup on, but I'm used to it being a little bit more cool toned than this. So just be aware if you're looking for a cool toned brow pencil, Neutral Brown is not gonna be your favorite. I really like the LA Girl, and actually it might be cheaper than this, the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil. I use the shade Brunette, and that one like kicked my CoverGirl one that I still love, but it kicked it out because of like as my favorite, because it's half the price. It's $2.99, maybe even more than half or less than half. And the shade Brunette is a really nice cool brown. So I think the pencil itself was actually very, very easy to use. Concealer settling even more, in case you were curious. Again, I think it's the primer. I don't think it's the actual concealer. Darn it! I meant to use this earlier, but this is something that's not new to me at all, but I had to mention it in this video. It's the e.l.f. Hello Hydration Face Cream. I've mentioned this in my January favorites. It is one of the best face creams I've ever used. It's 12 bucks. It's got hyaluronic acid in it, peptides. It's just really good for your skin. And you guys, I adore this. I have so enjoyed using this as like my day cream right now. I meant to use it earlier, darn it, but I highly recommend. I will link it below. So for my eyeshadow, I have two different palettes that I can dip into. This is the e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette. A lot of you guys have asked me to give this a try. It's just got a cool like mixture of shades, doesn't it? It's got this like really pretty deep green, a purple, a couple purples. It's got some peachy orange shades, a little bit of like a weird kind of yellow shade. I was gonna say urine yellow. Anyway, then a gray. I mean, it's just got a cool mix. So I thought that was fun. But they also came out with semi-recently the e.l.f. Modern Metals. And again, a nice mix of colors. We've got, you know, a deep navy blue, a pretty like deep Barney purple, a nice mustard yellow, which I think I'm gonna try today. And then it's also got some shimmers. So there's that mustard yellow. I think I'm gonna use it today. It might be a little too matchy-matchy for the sweater, but I don't care. Side note, this sweater's from Madison and Mallory, which is 11th Gorgeous's like boutique online shop. I love them and I love the shop. So no complaints about the quality so far when it comes to swatches, but as I always say, swatches only tell part of the story because obviously they might not blend well. They might not actually go on as pigmented as you want when you actually put it on the eyelid. I mean, there's so many things. So we are gonna see. Let me throw on an eye primer because I don't have an e.l.f. one. I'm just gonna be using the Essence I Love Color Intensifying Eyeshadow Base. It's just a really quick, good one. It's really inexpensive. Again, I can link anything I mention, e.l.f. or otherwise down below. So I'm gonna start with the Opposites Attract one and start in with this kind of beige shade called Fresh. Oh, that's deeper than I thought. Well, that's okay. I was thinking it'd be a little bit lighter, but we'll go ahead and put this then kind of quickly in the crease. That is a nice buffer shade if you're near my skin tone though, but I thought it might be a little bit more of like a light beige, but that's all right. We can make it work. I'm glad I started there on the eye. So I'm gonna pop back to the Modern Metals one. I wanna get this mustard shade on my eyeballs. So let's just kind of pack it on. It's just such a cool color. And you know what? I've seen a lot of people do really pretty looks with this kind of a mustard shade, but I haven't been able to find it in an affordable way because I was like, I don't want to spend a bunch of money and then like if I don't like it on myself, not use it. But this is a more affordable palette, so you don't feel like you're absolutely breaking the bank just to try a new look or a new color. So I'm gonna grab kind of a smaller brush and I'm actually gonna go into this kind of middle shade here. It's kind of a muted mauve, but with brown, I don't know what to call it, but just to kind of get this to be a little more seamless. These are blending really well, like really, really nicely. I'm not having any trouble pulling color farther out if I want to. Like this is honestly blending better than like some of the other e.l.f. palettes I've tried I liked, but I never felt like, ooh, these are the one, you know what I mean? Or that they were like super pigmented or super blendable, but these are really pigmented and honestly, I'm having a grand old time blending these. I'm not having any issue at all. So I wanna leave that matte, but I do need to brighten up like my brow bone there. I'm gonna try this like ivory kind of shimmery shade. We're just gonna try that on the brow bone, see if it's too much. That might be too much. It's pretty though. It's kind of a nice balance though when I have a completely matte look to have a slightly shimmery brow bone. Just something different. So for my lower lash line, I do need something. I'm gonna do this shade Daring. It's gonna be weird, but I think it could look good or it could look terrible. Let's just see. It's more of like a shimmery kind of, I don't even know what to, it's like an eggplant mixed with bronze. And it's shimmery, but I'm just curious. And I might need to pull a little bit of this in my outer corner to make it all work together, but. All right, so I'm gonna throw some liner and mascara on and I will be right back because I don't have any from e.l.f. to try. So I did have to go back in with the eyebrow pencil I used to kind of, it did kind of wipe away on the bottom. That does happen to me sometimes, like that would happen to me with the CoverGirl. I don't notice it happening as much with the LA Girl one. I feel like that just sticks to the skin, you know, near your brow hairs a little bit better than maybe this one does in the CoverGirl, just FYI. I do have a bronzer and blush to try. They're both primer infused. So I have the primer infused bronzer and the primer infused blush. I'm curious, did e.l.f.'s primer infused blush come before the Buxom one? Because I feel like I've owned this primer infused blush and then suddenly Buxom came out with theirs. Now, I am sure other brands have also already come out, so it's probably not just e.l.f. versus Buxom, but it's always interesting, you know? Here's the deal. I remember when I was on that trip with e.l.f., I told someone that was kind of higher up, I don't think she still works for them, that I think they should take their bronzer, they had like the bronzer and blush duos, I think they still have them, but the bronzer was so good, and I remember asking, would you take that bronzer and make it a larger pan bronzer, like just full, like the NARS Laguna bronzer, like that same kind of packaging, because that's what e.l.f. was using, but make a giant bronzer of it, but they never did. But then here's this, so I'm like, maybe it's the same. So the shade is Forever Sun-Kissed. I'm hoping it's the same. And I am just going to get, let me see. I don't think it's gonna be crazy pigmented, but we're gonna find out. So I'm just gonna kind of tap some there, tap a little bit up here. Actually, that looks kind of nice. It's a nice shade. It's definitely more orangey, which is what a lot of bronzers are, you know. But what I like to do to make it look a little less patchy is take my moist sponge and just kind of go over the area to kind of meld it with the skin and the foundation a little bit better, you know? I think it looks nice, don't you guys? I mean, this is a nice, like, sun-kissed bronze. Again, this is one that right off the bat I could see myself traveling with, but I'm curious to see how it wears throughout the day, so we will see. So the blush I got is in the same exact packaging, but it's the shade I got is called Always Rosy, and it just looks like a really pretty kind of everyday shade, just obviously rosy. Maybe a little deeper than I usually go, but it just looks really pretty. It swatches nicely. I mean, again, especially with blush, I don't take too much stock in the swatch because some of my favorite blushes swatch terribly, but they're beautiful on the skin. Oh yeah, that's a pretty shade. I think you can get a little heavy-handed, but I really like the actual shade of it. Oh my gosh, I love that. So again, I'm just gonna kind of tone it down a tinge. I've been saying recently, I'm really into the kind of blushy look, like where you can really see the blush. I'm usually not, and I'm not into it every single day, like if I'm doing a quick look, but I do think it's kind of pretty and I'm just like into it right now. So the highlight I have is from this Modern Metals palette. I could have used the blushes too. I have messed with this. I have swatched this a bit. But the highlight shade I'm gonna use is probably this one, but just to show you these three highlights. There they are there. That's the one I think I'm gonna try for. And then to show you the blushes in this palette. The blushes actually swatch really, really well. So it's kind of a nice mix. It is a little bit thinner than I like because when you try to get your brush, especially for the blushes, you gotta kind of squeeze your brush and make sure it doesn't get like everywhere. But that's just me being picky. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna tap some of it off. That is pretty. I like it. I'm gonna take a little bit and just kind of dust it up here. I like to hit my brow bone a little bit. So before I do the lip, I also got their Dewy Setting Mist Coconut because I was like, I love coconut everything. So again, the bottle's so pretty. It's like this really pretty beige. Let's see how the mister is. Ooh. Okay, a little better after a few, but it smells like real coconut. So I'm gonna do it kind of from afar. Oh boy. I could see this, it smells good, but this might be one that I need my sponge to kind of tap it in because I have a feeling this is gonna leave like spots. Not white spots like my Flower Beauty one did, but just generally spots where it was wet. Does that make sense? Because that was not a great mister. I need to pour the coconut stuff in the other thing for that mister. So while that's drying, the only lip product I picked up was their lip plumping gloss. It's in the shade, how do you get all these stickers off? You peel them, you idiot. Oh my gosh, this is no joke. Jeez. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. It's in the shade Sparkling Rosé. And it looks like it's got some actual color to it, which I like in a gloss. I'm not sure how well this pink goes with my look, but at least it's like slightly neutral, you know? So it's definitely still a see-through kind of gloss, but it's got that nice color to it. This is my kind of gloss. I like that the doe foot is bent backwards a little bit more. It just makes the application a little more pleasant. I feel like there's some doe foot applicators for your lip gloss that just aren't pleasant to use. I can't explain it, but like you feel like you're constantly dipping back into it, like those CoverGirl Katy Kat glosses. Oof, those were awful. Anyway, so it feels good. Let's see if it like tingles at all. I feel like I'm starting to feel a slight minty kind of tingle. Did it have a smell at all? I think there's a slight mint smell, but it's really, really slight. It kind of sticks together there. You get it on your tongue, you can feel the tingle right away. Yikes. So right off the bat, it's getting that like line, that's rare. Like, I could see a lip gloss doing that maybe after an hour or even 30 minutes, but that's like right away. Yeah, so I'm not loving it. I think I'm gonna film another video today. I'll probably change my lip color out. For just something more just like peachy almost, but also just cause look at that. So it is starting to tingle, just FYI. So I'm really so far digging. I really like the look. I like the eyeshadow a lot. I really liked that blush and bronzer and really that highlight. That whole palette was really, really pretty. And of course you guys already knew I liked the foundation. So again, I'll give you guys some updates as we go. Okay, it's like 10. I always look at that clock and we still have not replaced the freaking battery. It's after 10, I think it's like 10:30. So this has been on for not a super long time. Like I said, I got a late start, so I wanna say like 6 or 7 hours. It's definitely started to wear off a little bit on my nose and chin as usual. I feel like I start every check-in that way. I will say this, and I can't decide if it's the primer. I don't think it's the foundation because I've used this foundation before, but it's doing this weird thing where it's like emphasizing like texture around my nose where there's like a bunch of little white dots. And I've literally never, ever noticed that before, ever, with anything. So it's just really weird, and like lines that I don't usually see are showing up right there. Like I never see that with my foundation. I'm seeing that with this. So like I usually will see like lines up here, maybe a little bit of like fine lines there, but not there. So again, I can't decide, is it the pore filling primer? Is it the foundation? So I'm curious to try, you know, kind of try them in mixed company and see how they perform, and I'll have to let you guys know, so just kind of stay tuned. The blush stayed really well. I think the bronzer still looks pretty good. I think the blush stayed better than the bronzer, but we were sweating, we were chasing Pinocchio around. So I was sweating around here. So I'm wondering if I kind of sweat some of the bronzer off, but it doesn't look bad by any means. That eyeshadow is still rocking though. I am really, really impressed with the eyeshadow. That lip product, I don't think I want to use again. What else? The concealer I think is actually not bad, but like I said, I need to try it without that little under eye kind of primer because I think that was making it really weird. And of course I'll try the under eye primer with other concealers too, but I think it just made it like too greasy. So then it was just all kind of sliding around. So we'll see, and the brow pencil is nice too. I don't think it's a perfect match, but it is not bad. And I think it stayed pretty well once it was actually on and on for good. And it was really easy to use. So lots of good products, a few misses there, not too bad for a decently affordable brand, but I was overall pretty impressed. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in your pursuit of finding the best makeup that's out there. Hope you subscribe if you like finding out about great beauty finds out there. And other than that, I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye.